guys aren't familiar with Chris Chicago just passed away. He had cancer.
Yeah.
And we just found out from his wife. She posted that that he passed away this past week, and it was devastating, man.
It was really hard.
It was devastating. Chris Chicago is one of the reasons why we're here today.
Yeah.
He is a career radio personality. He started so many different radio platforms, Jam the Hype, So Flow. He worked with several different radio.
Rapzilla.
Of course, Rapzilla.
Engine Radio.
Engine, yeah. He's a legend.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that we wouldn't be here without Chris Chicago, one of the first, was it the first year we went to Flavor Fest?
It was the second year we went to Flavor Fest.
Second year.
Yeah.
We were on Jam the Hype. They were recording live. They brought us over, him and Derek Holm brought us over, and they at the time, Jam the Hype, I think, had just purchased the South.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So we were on our Line for Line episode that Jeremiah created was on the South. Mm-hmm. And of course, when they got the South, they inherited Line for Line, and they loved it. They loved it. And so they brought us on live, and Chris Chicago gave us like advice after advice after advice.
Oh, yeah.
And if you know anything about Chris Chicago, like he's not content with his success being his success. He loves to share it. He loves to give advice. If he sees that there's something that you're not doing quite right, he'll tell you.
Yeah.
And if you're not prepared for it, you'd be like, oh, who is this guy telling me? No, but he's like, no. I'm trying to help you. I know how this works.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm trying to help you. And one of the first advice he gave us, at the time, we were kind of like trying to be all things to all people, right? We were trying to be too general as far as the music we played and the the topics and all that. Trying to just kind of appeal to too many different people, which means we weren't appealing to anybody. And he was just like, you got to focus on hip hop, man. You guys have to focus on Christian hip hop. We were playing rock and everything. Yeah. And that advice just catapulted us.
Mm-hmm. We started. I remember that first conference call. That conference call was crazy. It was nerve wracking because when they bought the South, I remember having a conversation with you, like, should I reach out and ask about Line for Line?
Yeah, because we didn't know. Maybe they wouldn't like it.
Yeah. So when we sent the email, they sent us the email back, and they said, hey, let's jump on a call. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, they want to have a call with us. And I just remember how that call went. They were so encouraging to us. And when we purchased our table at Flavor Fest and we got down there, they were like, oh, track stars are in the building. And they were just like, hey, we're getting ready to go live on Jam the Hype. Y'all come on over, guest host with us. Yeah. Man, the lights, the cameras, everything was just like overwhelming for us. Yeah. But it was amazing because they settled us down. We had a great conversation. I wish we could find some of that video footage. I know Mike Laxton, shout out to Mike Laxton. Yeah. He said he still had some of that stuff. Yeah. And so does Derek.
I think they took us out to eat too.
They took us out to eat. It was amazing.
Awesome.
And I remember having another big conference call with Derek Holm and Chris Chicago, where they told us about the state of Christian hip hop, and they told us what to look out for. Yeah. And they gave us a lot of good advice, man. He was so solid, and his heart and his passion, it was amazing.
And when Chris Chicago got to Rapzilla, he tried to hey, we need you over here. When he got to Engine, he was like, give me a show. I'm gonna get it. He always shared whatever success he had. He always shared it, and always gave us such great advice. And I'm so sad because just recently, he sent out a tweet where you could tell he was sad, you know, and he was down. And I just shot back and was like, "Man, we're still praying for you, bro. We still love you. Don't despair." And he shot back and he was like, "Man, I know you guys do love you guys so much. He's very proud of us." And he said, "Thank you for reaching out. It really means a lot." Yeah. I didn't know that was the last thing I was going to hear from him. Wow. Man. And I just wish I would have done more. I hated the fact that the community that he loved so much, he didn't feel like it was loving him back at that when he needed it the most.
And it's hard to feel that way. It's hard not to feel that way. Yeah. I remember when my father passed away and all the calls were coming in. Text messages, calls, social media messages. But then after that stops, you feel like, did people forget that I'm still grieving and hurting over here? Yeah. And so for him to have been battling cancer for so long, I remember seeing him at the Smoke Fest last year, and I went up to him and we had a good conversation, and he told me how, he had changed his diet and he was, beating the odds, and I was so happy for him and proud of him, and we agreed to stay in touch. And like you said, that feeling of that's the last conversation, because we didn't have another chance to talk, and I'm glad we got a chance to do an interview with him back in 2022. It was the last interview we did with him, and I just went back and watched it this week. And he was so full of joy and so full of life. He had just launched Soul Flow Radio, and was inviting us to the platform. It's just good to see his heart for Christ, man. It was just unmatched.
Man, we definitely missed Chris Chicago, man. It's definitely I hate the fact that people that should be famous aren't, and people who shouldn't be famous are. Yeah. Chris Chicago should be famous across the world, man. He's amazing. So as much as we can make sure that happens, people need to know the contributions that Chris Chicago made to Track Stars, to Rapzilla, to Jam the Hype, to Reach, he's interviewed Ruslan and like everybody. He's the impact he's made on Wado, and he touched everything you see, everything you love about the space that we're in. He had his hand in.
Yeah, and you know what I love? I've always been anti-internet for the longest, because I just felt like I would have enjoyed growing up. I did enjoy growing up without it, but I'm glad that we do have the internet, because he left behind 4 children, and his oldest son is a teenager, but he has younger children. And I'm so glad that his body of work exists for the younger kids to see who their father was. All the interviews that are up on social media, all the interviews that he's done, the artists he's talked to, and the things that he said have been so encouraging. Yeah. I'm so glad they have that catalog to go back and really, revisit with their father.
So Jerry has a link up on the screen. If you want to support his family, please follow that link and donate. That'll be great help. If you realize now that you've been touched by Chris Chicago's life, which you definitely have. If you're watching us, you already have been. So please, whatever you can helps. And I know when family sees that, how much of an impact their father, their husband had on so many people, it means a lot. It means a lot.
It really does. And even if you ain't in the position to leave a financial donation, just go and send a message out. There is a message link too that you can send a message out to the family, which is great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I want to remind everybody that he did have a final resting ceremony in Texas this week. But there's one to be determined and a date to be determined for Nashville. So if you're in the Nashville area, if you're in the area where you're an adjacent state to Tennessee, then it'd be great to show up and show support for his family.
Yeah, absolutely.